Like cooking, everything has a recipe.
A set of instructions to follow in order to gain a certain result.
Music is no different.
Be it ingredients for a dish, a set list for an amazing show,
Or a release strategy for a successful launch.
these are all recipes.
Hi, we're your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brandon.
Come and join us in our kitchen as we go through the Music Maker's Cookbook.
Let's get cooking.
Welcome to the Music Maker's Cookbook, the podcast where we help independent artists cook up recipes for success in the music industry. I'm Sean.
I'm Brandon.
And today is our Aftershow recap of our live series. We're done, and we've gone through the whole start to end of what a live show should be, can be, and everything in the middle.
Yep.
But before we dive into that, we got to have our quick appetizer at the start.
Yeah.
So, Brandon, you said it's
Dude,
in mind.
had,
I have no idea what you're going to say.
I thought about like 4 topics on the way here today,
Did you?
which is awesome. But we've talked about like 2 beforehand. So like I'll hit you with those a different day.
Sounds good.
The one that I want to talk about though is like something we've never talked about. And like for a music podcast, we don't really talk about what we like in music a whole lot besides for like the very like businessy or like very applicable things to, I mean, that's what the show's about, right?
Yeah.
But I want to know like, who are some of your favorite artists? I don't even know that answer, but I know your background. So like I could probably guess, but I'm not going to guess.
I guarantee you couldn't.
Really?
Yeah. My favorite artists are very far removed from what I like about music and the stuff I do.
Okay.
Because I personally, when it comes to me working on music
Mhm.
and like the kind of stuff that I work on, I really like that humanistic acoustic performance where things are raw, there are mistakes, it's got a little bit of noise to it. Like it's real, it's raw, it's alive. But my favorite artists are Tokyo Machine,
Okay.
who is an EDM artist who does anything from like dubstep and hardstyle. And then I really like 21 Pilots.
Really?
Really like 21 Pilots.
Okay.
They're my favorite band, have been for years, and they will always be. Their music just hits differently to me.
Yeah. Bonus points if you can pick your favorite album by any of these guys too. Bonus points.
For me, pick one? Or
Yeah. Just as you're going through the list.
Oh, well, Tokyo Machine doesn't really have any albums.
Okay.
He's got some EPs, but my favorite song of his is Spooky.
Okay.
It's kind of like Halloween themed. So it's like some sine wave, synths, some wobbly effects. And the first drop is like dubstep, and the second one just goes straight to hard style out of nowhere, and it's just crazy hype.
Nice.
And then 21 Pilots, I mean, gotta say Blurry Face.
Sure.
I mean, there's no way you can't.
I kind of
If you
figured
know
that
21
one. Yeah.
Pilots, I mean, you gotta.
Yeah.
But I mean, their whole catalog is solid. I even like, what's their second album that's not when they re-signed with Tastes Like Ramen. So the first one was self-titled. The second one, Trees is one of the songs on it that they played when the live shows when I went and saw them.
Okay.
They don't have it released on their Spotify. It's like one of their like original ones.
Mm-hmm.
You can find it on SoundCloud, I think, still.
Gotcha.
Dope ass song. They literally played it. He played on piano and drums, and they took the drums on a platform and like crowd surfed him playing the
That's
drums
awesome.
on top of the crowd. It was pretty
That's
cool.
awesome.
So I would probably say Blurryface for that.
Okay.
What about you?
Man, it's tough. It's tough for me because I'm kind of the same way as like I do like a lot of the stuff that I do like work on, like in terms of like I like a lot of hip hop, but like I also do love like a lot of like really heavy stuff too, just in terms of like the metal lane kind of. I guess I'll start with hip hop.
Dude, metal. Fuck, don't get me started on that.
Right. I'll start with my hip hop.
Well, if you're gonna
Favorite
say
artist?
like that's relevant to you, just real quick, the most relevant to what I do now is The Head and the Heart.
Okay.
The Head and the Heart's my favorite.
Gotcha.
That's more.
I was just gonna say in general, but then I was gonna move over to something totally wild.
Okay, well, you're saying hip hop.
Yeah, totally.
For what I do, my favorite kind of relates to what I do is Head and the Heart. I absolutely love them.
Totally. I would say for me, Kendrick Lamar is
Solid.
like my top like hip hop fave of all time. Just think his music's great. Like just like the music itself is awesome. The lyrics are awesome. His delivery is awesome. Just the creativity is just fantastic. And then like maybe I'll just do one hip hop guy because I feel like I could just spew off a bunch. Okay, all right. Well, one more. Just because it's like, so Vince Staples is great. Like I love Vince Staples, but it's his self-titled album that is just fucking phenomenal to me. That I just love it so much that I'll just put it on all the time. So like that's a specific album that I love. So there you go. But I could name a bunch of dudes like in hip hop. But in terms of bands like Invent Animate, who Brian has worked with in the past, which is really cool. And that's one of the reasons why I learned of him way back in the day. And then I love Reflections. I don't know if you've ever heard of Reflections.
Reflections.
Yeah, they're pretty damn heavy like these days, but like their album, The Color Clear, is just like amazing. I listened to it on the way here. And like the reason why I bring it up is because Fall Time is like something I'll always go back and revisit those albums for some reason. Just has
Reflection.
Yeah.
That's what they're.
I would reflect at this time every year. Reflections, yeah. But they're pretty heavy though. So
dude,
like,
I like heavy shit.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoy if you do decide to listen. But yeah, I was thinking on the way here, I was like, we haven't really talked about what we like in terms of genre. I mean, we mentioned a lot of people every episode.
We should do oh shit, you don't have Spotify. Never mind. I was gonna say we could have like a co-owned playlist that we just put stuff on.
I mean, I have a free account.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, if I ever switch back,
I'm just kidding.
I'll come back.
Time.
The only reason why I have Apple Music is I still got my student discount.
Next time we go disking, we'll have a listen party.
Yeah,
we'll
we might scare some people with mine.
Setting up the dude. Me too.
Yeah. Good. Maybe it won't be as busy as last time.
For my birthday yesterday, we were listening to my liked songs on shuffle, just kind of go through, and it literally went from screamo to like 1930s jazz,
nice,
to Cascada.
Yep, sounds about
every
right.
Every time we touch,
yeah.
It went from that, and then I went back to hard rock. So yeah, no, it just jumps around. We're gonna scare some people.
Sounds about right for my playlist too. It's just from one extreme to the next, and it's just you never know what's coming. I never know what's coming. I'm like, I wonder what shuffle is going to bring me today and what order.
That's the fun.
That's the fun part about it. It's like those people that are like, oh, I listen to everything. I'm like, do you listen to everything? Because I literally listen to everything.
Everything.
I've heard okay, maybe not, but like
every single song that's ever existed.
It's in my brain.
It's in my brain.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that there are 40 to 60,000 songs uploaded to Spotify every day.
I
listen to all of them.
I already heard them today. I heard every single one on the way here. It was amazing.
Even the ones that are being released right now.
Yep.
He's currently, it's attached to his brain.
I've already heard it. Yeah. I have a chip in my brain. Okay, that's getting off the rails.
But you know what else is fun?
It was your birthday.
No, live music.
Oh.
I'm trying to segue, dude.
But I wanted to make sure everybody knew it was Sean's birthday the other day. So in the comments, wish Sean a happy birthday, please.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Anyways,
skips right over it. It's ridiculous.
Well, what else is in live shows? It can be fun when you're playing to a small group and someone's like, "Hey, it's my birthday," and you do like a quick happy birthday cover for them.
Because it's unique to the show and it's a good experience. You'll always remember that.
Yeah. So you had fun. You had your live show. You partied. You rocked hard. You brought the roof down. Brought the house down. And now the show is over.
Aw.
It's all over now.
Now we just leave.
No, we don't just leave. There's
don't?
No, the job's not over. There's still stuff to do.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
The encore.
The encore. But before we jump into what the encore is, I like that terminology. I didn't even think about it.
Thanks.
Wow. Before we do that, we're going to just kind of recap the whole series that we've done so far. Started with episode 11, and it goes through to now. So if this is your first episode you're listening to and you want to dive back deep and hear more about the information about the whole process, in episode 11, which is the first one, we talked kind of about what to say and what not to say while on a live performance, on stage and off the stage, some things you can say. One of the main standouts that I want to take from it is that instead of saying nice to meet you, you can say nice to see you with any fans that come up or anyone who's you're working with, any sound crew or venue owners or whatnot. It just helps not sound like you don't remember them if you have worked before. Even if you don't, just saying nice to see you starts you off on a more positive foot.
Yeah. And mine kind of piggybacks off of yours a little bit is that like, just be courteous to like the venue staff. So one of the examples that we used in that episode is like, don't say, can you hear me in the back? And like totally just diss the sound guy. Cause that's a total like shutdown for him. Like that is like a slap in the face. So just be courteous in like how you talk to people, especially the venue staff, and then obviously how you interact with fans too. So that was my biggest takeaway.
Yeah. In episode 12, we talked all about EPKs. The big thing I took away from it is that you can create different EPKs for live, if you're trying to get a show, for online press, etc., wherever you're sending industry information to in order to get in the door or have something written up about you or have set up a meeting or whatever it is, you can build and structure EPKs for different people that need different relative info. You don't got to give a lyric list to someone who's trying to book you for a night. You don't have to give a video of your live performance necessarily to someone who's trying to do a write-up on your newest album.
Yeah. And similarly for those EPKs that you curate for these specific situations, make sure that they have the least amount of barriers possible to them, meaning that they're easy to access and that anybody can access them that is supposed to access them at the time. And usually that just means have a website that you can regularly update and post relevant content to, and then also point people to. Like if you lock it behind a certain app or something that people need to pay for, that's generally not a good idea, right? So just make sure that it's easy to access and that you can update it regularly to keep up on your P's and Q's.
Episode 13, we talked about rehearsals and working with gigging musicians. Mainly thing I want to say about it is to pay your musicians a flat rate that you've decided on beforehand. Communicate what you're going to pay per rehearsal and for the actual gig so that when time comes, there's no squabbling over money. They come, they do the job, they get paid. You may lose out on some early gigs. So you don't have a lot of people coming. You're not making a lot of money from the merch. You might have to pay out of your own pocket. But as you grow, as you get more of a return on your investment up front, it allows you to then get more on top of it and reinvest it back into your music. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of helps squash any sort of negative feelings that could arise where, man, I need to get $100 for the show, but we only got 60 from the doors. And when it's split 3 ways, I only get $20.
Yeah.
Be upfront and be clear with gigging musicians.
Yeah. And like similarly, kind of like what Sean was saying, invest up front. And what I mean by that is invest in your rehearsal time, like rehearse at rehearsal. I think that should go without saying. Do not rehearse on stage. That is not the time to be figuring stuff out. You should already have it figured out before you hit the stage, and you should be confident in what you're playing and give your fans the best value that you can.
Mm-hmm. So now that we've got the rehearsal, and set all that set up from episode 13. Episode 14, we talked about show promotion, how to put things out and get people engaged to actually show up to the show. The big thing I took from it is be creative with your show promotion. It's not just a social media post that, hey, we're playing here on Friday, come to it. You can be creative. You can work with other musicians on the ticket to make things that tie everyone together, making an event, have physical promotion media like posters and whatnot, because that's not very common nowadays. So when it is done, it sticks out. Whatever your kind of branding is, you can promote it that kind of aligns with that gets people's attention.
Yeah.
And have a consistent strategy, not just a single post.
Definitely. And that also spills over into don't stop posting when the show is over. Oh, little foreshadow of today, possibly. Yeah. But seriously, don't stop posting once the show is over. Like, you still have a bunch to do, which we will tackle today. And also learn about the different types of posting and how to take advantage of their power. So just a quick example, you can do many different posts on Instagram, and we've talked about this almost ad nauseum now, but you can do regular posts, you can do a story, you can do notes, and then you can do a reel. So learn each one of those powers and how to use them most efficiently and effectively, and get some better return on your posts.
Mm-hmm. So once you're at the show and it's going great, you got everyone come out, how to capitalize in it, merch and fan engagement, how to engage them to actually make a purchase and help support you so you can keep doing this again and again and again. Big thing is the call to action. You need to let your fans know how they can support you. Send them to the merge table. Tell them about some cool things you've got going on. I don't know if you have raffles or games or some way you can get them to help support you financially. But tell them where you're going. Give them a call to action. This goes to while you're on stage. This goes to any post you make throughout what you're doing. Let people know how they can support you. Otherwise, they might want to, but not know how, so they won't.
Definitely. And then also make sure you learn the benefits of print on demand versus holding inventory, and make the right decision that is best for your business. I'm not going to go super deep into that because we already did. So go check out episode 15 and go see if you can find out the best way to capitalize on your merch and see what makes sense to you. But yeah, that is a long-winded one, so I'm not going to go further than that.
Recapping episode 16, we kind of talked about how to showcase your brand on stage and how your brand is all throughout what you do. And that consistency is key. The way you look, the way you talk, the way you sell, everything during, before, after the show, when you're in the public eye, that reflects your music and vice versa. So the way your music sounds should reflect your appearance. The way you look should be an addition to kind of what your sound is. And if you want to clarify what that means, what the 3 words that can represent the core values of your music is, so you can clearly say it throughout your music, your style, your banter, everything throughout the show, you can check out our episode 2 of our podcast where we break down how to effectively clarify what your vision is.
Definitely. And kind of like what you were saying, Sean, is that your brand doesn't really stop on stage. It it starts honestly from before the show, before you even arrive. But if we're just taking it just in terms of like a show, then you have to hold yourself to a high standard all the way through the entire show process. That means being on time and then arriving and then interacting with people along the way. And then obviously during the show and then after the show too. So just be mindful that your brand does not stop just on stage and that you are constantly, I guess, promoting yourself along the way. And like what I mean, you not actually promoting yourself. You're not like holding up. I mean, maybe you could, maybe you're holding up a poster that says, hey, listen to me. Right. But you're just constantly advocating for your brand at each and every opportunity and each and every touch point. And that it's really important to make sure that it's on top of your game at all times. Cause you can get canceled out here. Just saying.
Just saying. Then episode 17 is this one. So stay tuned to find out what it is going to be about.
What is it about today?
Well, it's really about the show is being over. Now what? What do you do once
That's it. That's the end of the show.
Get off stage.
That's it. You guys take it easy. Until next time. Bon appetit.
Pack up, go in the van, smoke a couple cigs, head to the next show.
Yep.
Call it a day.
Do all the drugs.
All the drugs.
Don't do drugs.
No, what you need to do, if you are one of the earlier bands performing, you're not the end of the night, stick around, hang out, check out the other bands as a courtesy, if the time allows. If you're not rushed from one place to the next place, if you have time, hang out, meet people, thank them for being there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, this kind of goes back to the last episode 16, right? You showcase your brand at every single point. That also means that you have to interact with the other bands correctly too, right? Because like technically, like you guys are all kind of employees, right? Just grand scheme of things, right? You're not the customers. You are like the employees putting on this show, and you're also working with the venue staff who are legitimate employees as well most of the time. But you have to make sure that you're working with people correctly and that these people will want to actually work with you again and be on same tickets as you again. And you're just working together to put on a great show for everybody that's coming out. And like this can pay dividends in the future. So just make sure that you're giving people your time that, I don't think that's really hard to ask.
Yeah,
like you don't have to necessarily buy anything from them. Just be there.
Yeah. That small 1 minute conversation you had with the second band's drummer after you finished your set, and then maybe they remember you for the next event they're putting together, and they invite you to be on the ticket. Whereas if you didn't have that relationship with them previously, or they didn't even remember you because there was no interaction, then that's a gig you potentially lost out on.
And I think this one I really want to hammer out too is that thank people for being there. Like this one's a really big one for me because like it leaves a lasting impression, right? If you come up to me and you thank me for being at a show, I'm like, oh, dude, of course. Like I wouldn't miss it. And like, I'm always going to remember that, I've been to many shows where a bunch of people, like I'm thinking of my boy, Jalen, for example. I went to his show. First thing he did was thank me for coming out right when I got there. It wasn't even after the show. And then once the show ended, he was like, thank you for coming again. Like he just double thanked me. I was like, dude, of course. Like, we're going to be here to support you. I've also been at shows where people don't thank other people. And it's like, okay, well, I don't know if I'm going to come back out for that, right? And it's not anyone that I necessarily work with. It's just like the people maybe they were on the bill with, right? It's like, oh, I don't know if I'm ever going to go see you again, right? So it just leaves an impression. It leaves a sour taste in your mouth if you don't do that, right? People are investing their time. They've also probably invested monetarily somewhere along the way, whether it's directly to you or not. And I think it just goes to show that like you're actually appreciative of their time, right? Time's the most scarce resource that we have of all time.
Yes, it is.
Time, the herb. And
well, even disregarding the potential idea of, not thanking someone can cause a negative chain of reactions to occur, which it can. But even disregarding that, any opportunity you have to take any sort of emotional response from a baseline to a step in a positive direction, you want to take it. As many small steps as you can create. Once you stack them up, that's a big jump. That's a leap. That's, a sprint, whatever it ends up being. And that gets closer to a memorable, huge experience that they're going to want to share, tell their friends about, and come back again and be a full supporter of
Absolutely.
you. So even disregarding all the negative things that could be avoided, if you just look at stacking up small positive things, that's the thing you can do. Another thing is, if you are one of the earlier bands, in terms of stacking positive things, go to your merch booth. Man your merch table. At the end of your set, tell them, if you want to talk to me, I'll be at the merch. I have this event going on. You could win a free shirt. Meet me at the booth. Booch, meet me at the booth. I've got, we have these cameras for sale, or we've got a raffle for this thrifted leather jacket that we custom embroidered with our logo or whatever it is. Meet me at the booth. I want to see you there. So that people have a reason to go talk to you. And while they're there, they're more likely to buy something. That's what I meant earlier by kind of a call to action.
Yep.
That's a great place. It's usually a little bit away from the stage, a little bit quieter. So you can actually have a conversation with these people who came out to see you. And these conversations make it more memorable for your fans.
Exactly.
And once again, say, nice to see you.
Yep. Honestly, like, it's just about being a good person.
Yeah, just be there.
Just be there. Just be present in the moment and just interact with people.
Yeah. Like more so than just other bands. If you got the chance, talk to venue owners, promoters, and we saw about the fellow bands, just fellow bands. I am slurring my words today.
You're fine, man.
I'm just having coffee. There's not spiked at all.
You sure?
No. Maybe you changed out the creamer. I don't know. But yeah, just talk to these people, build these relationships so that when other things come up in the future that you come up, you stay top of mind, you leave a positive emotional experience that they can call back to and, help give you more opportunities moving forward.
And then I was going to go to our next point too, is that maybe this is something that should also be decided earlier. But are you going to have an after show party, right? So let's say you're cultivating these relationships with all these people and you're like, oh yeah, we're having a great time. Come to the after party, right? Like, that's when you can kind of spark it and then continue to develop and curate those relationships. But that's definitely something you should probably decide beforehand. It's really tough to be like, hey, we're going to have an after party. We're having it at the drummer's house. And the drummer's like, bro, what? Like, that's crazy. Maybe the impromptu might be okay. But yeah, this is just one of those ways that you can actually take it a step further, like Sean was saying earlier, and really start building on that relationship, right? So something kind of cool to do.
Yeah, well, especially like if you're at a venue that's got like an upstairs bar or a restaurant or whatever, you could do like an impromptu. Hey, we're going to have a quick drink at the bar. Come up and talk to us.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the after party version of it. Or if you're selling VIP tickets for what you're doing, you could meet at a hotel lobby or a restaurant or a bar across
or
the
drummer's
street.
house
Or the drummer's house, or on the side alleyway in the back corner where there's no light and no cameras.
behind the dumpster.
Behind the dumpster. I have to part of the dumpster. No, if you plan it beforehand, did you promote it? Who is invited? It's probably not a great idea. Just do an open invite to anybody in the crowd. You're going to want to give it as a promotion or a added bonus to people who are supporting you more. Or you can have like, hey, if you buy your merch, get entered in a raffle for a one-on-one dinner with the band afterwards, or things like that. Just plan it out. How do you promote it? How are you going to showcase it?
Yeah. Be safe about it.
Be safe about it. And it can be hard to have an after party if you're one of the first bands on the ticket, because as we just said, you're going to want to stick around and talk to these people. Yeah. So maybe if there is a bar, like, hey, we're having a drink by the bar, if you bought our merch during the show, we're going to do a raffle now. Whoever wins, we're going to buy a drink at the bar.
Right.
Things like that. Then you can stay there, build a community, talk to the bands afterwards, talk to fan engagement one-on-one, meet people there. You can kind of combine all of it, and it also supports the venue because now you're at the bar, you're talking to the bartenders. It allows you to kill birds with one stone.
Yep.
So that's kind of another opportunity, another thing you can think about of what an after party, what necessarily is that, how can you incorporate it into what you're doing?
Definitely. And like we said, make sure that it's safe too. Like, you don't want anybody getting hurt, or even worse, if there are illicit things there, you don't want anybody to really get hurt. So just be safe about that.
Yeah. And so now that you've had the show, you've talked to people, you've networked, everyone's leaving with butterflies in their stomach, or that's a negative thing, and butterflies in the heart, like the flutter.
Yeah, and then
the
ringing in your ears.
Ringing in your ears, yeah. Amplifiers ringing in your head. But no, everyone's leaving with positive vibes, positive emotions, good vibrations.
Beach Boys.
Now what do you do? Now it is actually time to pack up. It is time to go home. You need to take inventory of everything that happened throughout the show. What were your merch sales? You should have been keeping track of it as you sold things. What was the most popular thing? What was the least popular thing? The more shows you do, the more shows you have a merch table. You can compare like, hey, these shirts are our best selling shirts consecutively at events. These ones don't seem to move. This raffle thing that we do has a lot of engagement. This kind of free thing that we give away doesn't really have much. Take inventory about what's going on so you can better represent it at the next show. Also, you can find out what the door was like.
Yeah.
Did the door keep track of what band people came there to see? How many tickets were sold? Well, maybe they kept track of the demographic, the age range. You never really know what kind of information they keep track of. If you can get it, fantastic. Because then you know, like, hey, we had a lot of people come to see us, or hey, a lot of people came to see this band, and that band's kind of similar to our band, and we talked to them throughout the show, and we got along really well. So since they have a good following, there's even more reason to try to book another ticket at this location or this area with them.
Yep.
Keep track of these statistics so that you can make your next tour, your next show, your next booking
Great insights.
Greater. Yeah.
Yep.
Make it move more in a positive direction. Aside from that, make sure you have all of your gear.
Yeah, dude, I can't believe we didn't really talk about taking inventory earlier before the show, but that is something you should do before the show.
Yes, before and after, like after your show's done, and then before your next show begins.
Yeah,
take inventory.
I recommend doing it on some kind of electronic device if you have like a stylus and then like an iPad or like a
checklist.
Yeah. I mean, you can do it pen and paper. It's more prone to maybe getting lost or damaged. So like if you spill something, exactly.
My phone has a stylus to it, so
that's perfect. That's perfect, and that would work just fine. If you have to resort to good old pen and paper, that works too. But just know that if somebody spills beer on it or if it gets trampled or something,
when cables are no longer working, or if you have to test them when you get home, or you had some issues with the DI box, so let's take some time before the next show and make sure everything's working. We don't need to replace it.
Yep.
So yeah, just take inventory, make sure you have everything. Do you have all your microphones? Do you have all your cables? Do you have your loop pedal, your effects pedals, all your cymbals? Did the last drummer of the night borrow your drum kit? So do you have your snare? Or make sure you've got everything you need.
Yep. The one show that I never did an inventory on, or I did do an inventory on myself, but I didn't do an inventory for the other dude that was borrowing some stuff, is that I lost one of my monster cables and my noise suppressor pedal. Don't know where they went.
Yeah.
Could have gotten stolen, could have been left at the venue, could have been left in a car, could have been left at a house. I have no idea where that went.
And that's
so
never
sad.
fun.
So sad.
That's never fun.
No, it was a bummer. It was a big bummer.
So on top of making sure you have all your gear,
so after the show's all done and you have all your gear and life's good, pay everybody that you need to pay. Like that should go without saying. Sometimes people would ask for it in advance, and that makes it kind of easy. Yeah. So you don't have to remember at the end of the show, because that's not really fun.
At the end of the show, so much is going through your head.
So much. And actually, sometimes it's almost better to do this the next day, as long as you can trust the person and like make sure that you actually do get paid. But yeah, just make sure you divvy up everything. If the venue's paying you, if you were working off of purely tips, and a lot of this too, like you have to make sure, like what Sean was saying, is that you have to set expectations in advance for what you're paying people. Like we said, like a percentage wise is almost always never a good idea unless you're in a band together, right? So like if you have a sitting musician, you probably want to pay them a flat fee as much as possible, right?
So they're part of your group. Like this is
then it's more percentage.
It's a 4-person
100%,
band. Split everything
exactly. So just make sure everybody knows how they're getting paid and when they're getting paid, and that you make sure you actually do that step, because that can lead to a lot of tarnished relationships really quick. There's nothing worse than money coming in between people, and this is just one of those things where we can avoid it again and still be successful at what we do.
Oh, for sure.
Then the next one, I'll tackle the next one too.
Go for it.
Football season is here, baby.
Just started.
It's awesome. Michigan is 1-0. I'm a massive Michigan fan.
We recorded this September 6th, by the way.
Yeah. So by this time, they should be 3-0, which is fantastic. You just know that I'm ecstatic, and we're going to win in the national championship this year. But because I brought up football, is that you need to have a recap of the show with your bands and your teammates. So your bandmates, that should go without saying. Your guitarist, vocalist, you can leave out the drummer. Who cares? No, I'm just kidding.
I'll figure you just the drummer, and like I always just the bass player.
Well, you know what? You can leave out the bass player too, because I mean, honestly, the guitar player and the vocalist are the only ones that.
The whole rhythm section, just leave them behind.
Yeah, I mean,
they're still probably packing up, to be honest.
Does the drummer know what a melody is?
Well, let's be real. If
I mean, come on. So no, I'm just kidding.
Depending how many toms he has, I mean.
Yeah, depending on how many toms he has, you might need to fire him.
You might know a melody. Oh no!
It's terrible.
You're a drummer. You can make fun of him.
It's terrible. I played the drums yesterday for the first time in like 8 years.
Really?
It was awesome.
That's fucking.
I was jamming.
I've never played it. I never actually sat down and played an acoustic kit.
Really?
I play electric kits. That's what I have.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's a small thing, but
acoustic kits are loud.
Man, we're
right off the rails.
We're off the rails.
Sorry about that. But
no, just to make the joke of, if you are like going to the bar afterwards and recapping the event. So the drummer is still probably packing up. So he might not be
most likely. And like, why would you help him? So I mean, especially depending on how many times he has.
I have worked thousands of live shows.
Yeah,
I can count less than both my hands how many times I've seen a band member help their drummer.
It's kind of funny.
I'm not even kidding.
That's kind of funny.
It's hilarious.
I mean, like, how many pieces are in the kit? If he had,
Even if it's a 5-piece.
damn, that's really sad, actually.
Yeah.
That's mean.
Yeah.
That's mean. Anything 5 or less, that's good. I would help. If you have one more damn piece than 5, I am not touching a damn shell.
There was a band.
At all.
There was a band I was working with that did. This is a quick story time. We're going off the rails a little bit. But that's fine.
That's okay.
That's fine.
It's the
That's
after show. We're chilling. We're hanging out.
Exactly.
Interacting.
Yeah. We did our recap of the series. Now we're just kind of having some fun. Yeah. But no, there was a band that I worked with. Their whole thing was like a live DJ sort of set. So they had a keyboardist with 2 different keys who also played backing tracks, a drummer and a bassist and a guitarist, and they had 5 vocalists who would just swap throughout the show. Yeah. Depending on what song incorporated their vocal styling, that's who would sing. And they would just play 60 to 90 seconds per song, and there was no transitions. It was just the whole show was rehearsed back to back to back. It was kind of cool. Yeah. And everyone showed up, they set up, did the show. As soon as the show was done, all 5 singers just left right away. Not a single singer stood around.
That is like so accurate for vocalists, bro.
Yep. Guitarist and bassist packed up, left. Keyboardist, he was the guy who like it was his band, his group. Okay. So he talked a little bit to, the guitarist, bass while they packed up, and he packed up his keys. Then he talked to the drummer a little bit, which actually made the drummer have to stay there later. And then he left. So by the time everyone in the band was gone, the drummer had put away like, I don't know, I think half of his cymbals. So
how many cymbals did he have?
I mean, I think he had 2 crash and a ride.
That's not a lot.
No, so he'd put away hi-hat? And a hi-hat. So he'd put away his crashes. He'd put away all of his cymbals, but like half the stands were still up. Okay. So he was there for like another half hour.
Dude, this is such a bummer, man.
Yeah, and I'm like, if I didn't have all these cables to wrap up, dude, I'd give you a hand. Yeah. He still got out of there before I did.
It sounds like he was at least reasonable with his kit too, because he didn't have a bunch of stacks. He didn't have a splash, a china, like 3 rides,
and he had a cart, so he could just toss in the cart, and he had one trip, and he was out of there. So he was efficient, but it was just hilarious because I'm like, there's 8 people here. 5 of them literally didn't bring anything. Yeah. And they're just gone.
Dude, it's so funny because all it would take is one person per thing. Yep. Per stand. Yep. And it would have been done. Yep. All one person had to do was do one stand. And they didn't do that.
So that's my story.
It's kind of funny.
On the flip side, that's the last story I'm going to tell. There's another band that I did who was just a 5-piece, guitar, bass, drums, key, and a lead vocalist. And the opposite happened where after the show, they all talked, except for the drummer, went to the bar, and the drummer was packed up and gone within like 15 minutes. Wow. He was really efficient. So he was gone. And
bro had a go-go gadget kit.
Yeah. Yeah. I was even done before the band came back. So I'm just like, well, I'm not, this is at a bar that I was doing sound for when I first started. I'm like, I'm not sticking around. So I just left and all right, have fun packing up, guys. Like the whole band was still at the bar. Nothing was cleared off on the stage.
Oh my God. So like, okay, well, yeah, no, I'm out.
Yeah,
exactly. No way. Like if you don't care about it, I don't care about it. Like seriously.
So the opposite can happen too. Like if you're not gonna invite me for a drink, I'm just out.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious, dude. Yeah, no, I mean, all seriousness aside, I love drummers. I do. We get along.
Oh yeah,
we get along.
Yeah, me too.
It's the bass players actually.
Oh yeah.
I was just cloaking that for Sean. Yeah. I was just being nice.
Yeah, we don't actually get along.
We don't. We fight a lot.
All the time.
Yep. Yeah. We fought up until we pressed record today.
Exactly. So. And then instant fake smiles. Yeah. That's part of our recipe for success in this podcast. Fake it till you make it, boy.
That was actually our next point. Be fake. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Don't do that.
Be fake. Lie to your audience.
Yeah. Don't showcase your brand on stage.
Ignore this whole section. Anyways, moving on.
So sorry. That was probably our worst tangent ever. But it was awesome.
Stands. Once you're done with the show, talk to each other afterwards.
Yeah. You have to communicate with your team, right? Yeah. So, and
maybe you do go to the bar, but if you are going to talk about the show, bring the drummer. Yeah. Don't leave the drummer behind. He's part of the member. He's part of the band too.
He is, unfortunately, and you do need him. So,
I'm not starting this again. But you talk about. Well, what are you going to talk about when you go to the bar?
So, what kind of things do you have to recap? I want to define your teammates real quick too. It's not only your bandmates, but your photographer, if you have a social media person, if you have a videographer, your manager, your merch person, your
promoter.
I mean, really talk to your merch person because we're gonna go over sort of like watching a game film. That goes back to the college football thing, right? So like you play the game, next day you're in the film room and you're starting the film. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What do we need to improve on next time? So we're going to go through each step. I'm just going to give a couple quick examples.
Yeah.
Number one, what went right? Did people react well to a certain story you told on stage? And be mindful that that can vary from venue to venue. But so just keep that in mind too. But did people react to a certain story you told on stage better, and then they got into the song a little bit more later that you noticed? Or did load-in go quicker than usual? How did we make this more efficient? Can we do the same thing next time at this venue? You know, so, and like that also goes with, you have to have a little bit of leniency on these things too, because it does vary from venue to venue, right? So like if you go play Arts, Beats, and Eats, you're going to have probably a fucking hell of a time getting your shit there because it's so damn busy in that damn city. Opposed to if you go play the Blind Pig on a Thursday night, you're not going to have that much trouble probably, right? So it's all within
scope and like relation to what day it is.
Exactly. But make sure that you celebrate the things that did go right. Like that's huge. And like, that's important to do. And that's important to make everybody feel good at the same time.
And likewise, what you said, like talk to your whole team, like ask the person at the merch table, hey, after what song did the most people come up and talk to you about? What kind of comments were people making to you as they bought their merch? If you had a raffle or some sort of interactive event or specific gimmick things you were selling at the stage, how did people react to it? Were they excited? Were they a little confused as to what was about? Like, well, what am I actually going to do with this? Or how does this work? How can you be more clarified in the future? If you're talking to your manager or whatnot, they were at there the whole show, you can say, okay, what song pulled the most people towards the stage and what song had people kind of walk away from it? Things like that.
Yep. And honestly, like Sean was saying too, is like, ask your merch person that question. Like, make sure everybody is in on this together. So like, just don't dismiss the photographer because they were busy. They probably saw things that you never would see ever. And like, guess what? They probably photographed it too, which is really cool. So they have a unique perspective they can offer.
I mean, things like ask about, hey, the lighting, the venue took care of the lighting today. What lighting looked really cool? Was it the pink lights, the blue lights, the purple lights? What kind of obscured us? Because like we have this kind of fashion. What made it hard to take photographs of how we looked and the way it was on stage? So in the future, we can tell, hey, if at all possible, can you not use blue lights in the light because it washes out our style on stage? If you could stick with these colors, that'd be great. Or if you've got someone who knows what they're doing in terms of sound quality and the way things sound out in the audience, you could ask, hey, did it sound good? What song sounded really good? What was really punchy? What was not? What worked? What didn't? And then maybe next time you work in a venue at the gig, if it's the same sound guy, you can say, hey, I've been working with you. This was fantastic. Just as a refresher, like these are the kind of the bands that influence, and we really like how the vocals jump out in this kind of style of music. Not necessarily like, hey, so last time you did this shit wrong and this shit wrong and this shit wrong.
Right.
You don't want to be accusatory, but just say like, hey, we got some really good feedback on how it sounded. And just to kind of a reminder, since it's been a while, these are things that are really important to us.
Yeah, definitely. And
phrase it positively.
And exactly. And like, that was going to be actually one of the next points that I made too.
I jumped ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was going to say is that just treat your team like how you would want to be treated, like within your team, like celebrate the good things. And then when you move over to the bad things, right? What went wrong? Was like the merge inventory difficult or super messy to like navigate? And like, how can we fix that later? Right. And when you do go and you make a criticism or you suggest another way to do something, make sure it's done like tastefully, like Sean was saying. Like, don't put anybody down. This is your team. Like, you want them to be on your team. I always like
volunteers.
Exactly. I always like saying use I statements and not you statements. Don't be like, you did this wrong. Be like, I feel like we could have done this differently. Right. So like, the delivery is a little bit better and it's a little bit softer and it wears a little bit less, right? It's like a ball bearing, right? Like a pothole will wear on it harder than it would be on smooth surfaces. Both are still getting worn, but it's all within the context of how it's happening. So just be mindful of how you're presenting it, but you do have to go over what was wrong and see what you can make a pivot on next time and see what you can do differently next time to help make it run more efficiently. It's never going to be perfect. Shout out to Kevin. Yeah. It's always going to be good enough, right? So
another thing you can do is people like to have their opinion be validated and feel like they're involved in it. So even if you have like a volunteer who's working out your merch stand and something didn't sell too well or things weren't too hot, a way you can phrase it is, hey, so these numbers weren't that great. What would you try?
Yeah.
Like, how do you think we can do this better?
Or people saying maybe because like sometimes you get a reaction out of people
because you were there. I want you to volunteer and do the next show as well. So instead of saying like, we didn't sell enough shirts, you need to do this, this, and this to make it better. It's like, hey, what do you recommend? Where do you think our systems were lacking? What would you implement to make it work more efficiently? And then that helps them be more involved. And you're going to hear ideas that you never would have thought of on your own.
Exactly.
from someone who was there all night. So
Yep.
always ask for your team's opinions. Not necessarily you have to agree with all of them or
Sure.
implement them all,
Yeah.
but at least kind of get a different perspective.
Yeah, definitely
on these
filter
things.
out what is relevant and what is not relevant to you, but never just be dismissive of somebody's opinion just to be dismissive. I don't think that's fair. And then after that, I would just say, how can you do it differently next time, right? Is like, let's say like you take like a part of the show where you weren't too solid on a bridge of your third song, right? Maybe you practice that a little bit extra
At the next rehearsal.
next rehearsal. Or maybe you want to try out some new material, or you want to greet people differently next time, or you want to try standing at the merch booth next time instead of standing in the middle of the pit or something, right?
Yeah.
Or instead of standing over by the bar. Like, just make sure that you try to do new things and kind of A/B it against each other in certain situations and see what works best for you. And, you know, maybe not every situation will be that fluid, though. Maybe sometimes standing by the bar is the move, right? So maybe you have to just get a little bit better at seeing the environment and like reacting to the environment too. So, you know, it's all within a scope, like Sean was saying, but, you know, make sure you try different things, though. Don't get too set in your ways, because then there's no growth behind that. There's no going to see other things.
Exactly. And until you apply and get the data on it, it's really hard to say, oh, no, wait, no, this is actually better, or this is actually worse than what I've been doing. And you can, once again, get these ideas from your team. It's like, hey, I'd really like to get more people doing this after the show, or I want more people to come up and talk to me, or I want more people to buy this particular kind of merch so it's more engaging, or tag us in posts or whatnot. Okay, well, what are things you can do that are different than what you are doing to entice people to do these things? And just kind of have that team meeting, recap it. Specifically on stage, you can talk about, hey, this transition wasn't super strong, or this probably kind of fell apart on. How can we do it differently next time? Once again, if the mix is gone, how can we communicate better with the sound guy? How can we communicate better with the lighting guy? How can
we need to change our backing tracks. We need to change whatever. You know, we need a longer count in for the song.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just things like that. Or, oh, we stuttered and stammered and we actually had to stop halfway through a song because there was a big mistake. And like, well, how can we not do that moving forward? Things like that. Just identify where the pain points are in terms of a super seamless, great show, and address them one by one.
Or even,
as Kevin says, it's never going to be perfect. It's just going to be get as good as you can.
Exactly. And like, even like habits too. Like, let's say somebody actually flubs and everybody looks over, right? That's a habit you're going to end up breaking eventually, because you guys still have to have the illusion that everything is going correctly, because the crowd doesn't know. But once you look over and everybody kind of like starts to drift over and look at the bassist, I was just, I had to.
No, it happened to me.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, now I feel that.
That was great.
Know that.
It was not like
I was just going to rip on a bassist.
Not everyone looking at me, but like as a bassist, like there was a show I did, I was sitting in on. And just because of personal things, like leading up to the show, I was given the full set list. I was given what to practice with, but one of the songs was a cover song of a different song. And I'd never been able to rehearse it with the band.
Gotcha.
So I rehearsed it on my own time. I think they altered the key of it or something from the original song or something. So for the first like 45 seconds, I'm just like, this doesn't sound right. Nothing I was doing was right. And then like I had to like adjust on the fly, but it was rough, but everyone did a great job. They just kept powering through and they just kept pushing forward. And by the end of it, like people were having a great time and singing along to the song. So, as long as you don't highlight it or stop it or, or point out to it, you can, it'll always end up as a positive.
Exactly. So now I feel bad because I didn't know that happened. And now I just
all the time, dude.
Now I look like a dick.
That's live.
It is live. That's why I like working in the studio, because you can just fix it.
Redo. And even things like, what can you do differently next time for load in, load out? It took us an hour to get out of here. It shouldn't take us that long. Well, what if when you're done, you help out the drummer? Or what if we compress this onto these kind of folding carts? So instead of carrying the drums out one by one, we can put it all together. What if we maybe communicate with the venue owners beforehand and ask like, hey, what's a good time for load in? Where's the best place for us to load in? Have that kind of stuff buried into your contact form when you do book a gig or approach a promoter or whatnot, to get those details before in front. It's just kind of stuff like that. How can you make the whole process easier? Not just the show, not just before, not just after.
Yep.
So yeah, recap.
Got to study the film. Got to study the game film.
Yeah.
Have to. If you don't, I mean, you're missing out on opportunities later. You're just robbing yourself. No, seriously, like you have to go back and just make a championship team, baby. That's why Michigan's going to win the national championship. All the game film. I'm gonna have so many haters after this. A lot of people don't like Michigan.
A lot of people don't.
So everybody's gonna hate me.
Yeah.
So me and Chris Graham.
Yeah.
Shout out to the
Home studio.
Well, yeah, I guess that would technically
That's more
6-figure creative, 6-figure home studio.
Yeah. Chris Graham was 6-figure home studio.
Yeah,
man.
but he lives in Ohio and lives in Columbus, Ohio State.
Yeah.
Him and I don't get along. It's unfortunate.
I don't get.
He's such a nice guy.
People care about football so much.
Well, I mean, I could see past it.
Have I told you I'm a Wisconsin fan?
Yeah, you have. We've talked about that before. And you know what? We don't play this year. We don't play each other, so we're good.
Well, not until the end when we play for the championship.
You guys aren't making it to the Big Ten championship.
No, we are. We are.
That's okay. Well, has the West ever won one? I'll just.
Yeah. No, not since they split.
Not since they split.
Oh.
The Big Ten East is just that good.
Enough. Fair enough.
I mean, who's one of the last two? I'm just talking shit just for fun.
Whatever.
Sorry.
Hey,
I used to like Wisconsin.
At least you're talking to someone who really doesn't care.
I used to like Wisconsin.
What changed?
You guys smoked us like a few years ago, and I got hurt.
Oh yeah, like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
we were.
Yeah, you guys
on top of it.
Yeah, you guys smoked us that one year, and I was like, you know what, this made me upset. And then I was like, you guys kind of look like Ohio State.
They were red too.
Because I mean, like originality. I mean, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Ohio State, they all look fucking Indiana and Rutgers. Y'all look the same.
This is such a casual episode today. I really hope you guys are having a fun time. This may or may not make it in the final episode.
I hope it does. I hope it does. Because this proves a point that I need to be on a show about football.
Anyways, now the show's over. You've recapped. I'm just going back on topic. We've recapped. You have to recap what kind of happened during the show. You guys go home. Done. You're done, right?
Yeah, we're done.
You're not.
Oh, we're not?
There's still more things you
I want to
do.
go to bed.
Well, you can go to bed, but then the next day, you got to do some show promotion. Even though the show's done, you got to promote it.
We talked about that earlier.
We did talk about it. So now we're going to circle back, go back to the the entree. The entree.
Yeah.
We were getting closer to dessert, but nope, we got a second wind, dive back in, going back in for more breadsticks and soup.
Now I'm hungry.
Yeah, me too, man. But anyways, so we're going to be talking about show promotion after the show is done. Now you might be thinking, show is over. People came out. It was a success. People bought stuff. We know what to do better next time. Why would we promote a show that's over? Mm-hmm. Well, part of it is there's a couple of reasons why I would want to promote a show, even when it's past done. The first thing is kind of just, the main thing is to kind of showcase FOMO, which is the fear of missing out. We talked about this last episode. And basically, the fear of missing out is when people see things that they could have participated in and they're like, man, I should have done that, or that looks fun. I want to do that next time, because they feel like it would have been a great experience for them to go to. And if you have a killer show, which you've been doing all this stuff, you do have a killer show. If someone sees photos or videos of the show, fan interaction, shout outs to fans, behind the scenes events, these are all things you can post to make to give someone a sense of FOMO, where they're like, man, this looks like so much fun. I really like their music. They're really putting together something cool. I like the merch that's specific, limited to just their live events. I'd love to get something like that. So I'm going to go to the next show. Mm-hmm. You have to showcase the positives of what you're doing so that people who didn't show up last time are going to want to come next time. And it also really helps re-engage people who were at the show.
Yeah.
Because now they're like, oh yeah, shit, I was there. Or you can see me in the background. Or they share it to their friends like, hey, can you see me in the back? Or man, the show was killer. Next time you should come with me. Or hey, I found this band out. I came for this band, but I found out about this band and these guys are great. Mm-hmm. Things you can do that help, keep the buzz going, keep people engaged, show how awesome of a time it was. Yeah. And then use that to kind of promote and get people excited for the next show you've got coming up. So as you said, photos with fans, just photos of the show. If people will tag you, you can tell people to tag you when they promote, post photos of them at the event.
Yeah, or
so
videos.
You can reshare that, engage in those people's posts so that it spreads around. It's more engaging for the people who are there. Like, oh shit, the band responded to my post. Things like that. However you can increase engagement and increase buzz for it. It's also behind the scenes shots. So you can have, you can get someone on your teams, make it their job to promote, shoot behind the scenes footage for social media.
Yeah.
So like a quick 30-second video of load in, a quick 30-second video of load out, a quick 30-second video or 6-second video like at the bar, at the merch table, or the start of the set or the end of the set.
A 30-second video of the
songs.
drummer packing up by himself.
Exactly. That could honestly be funny.
Honestly, that's hilarious.
That's a solid one.
That's hilarious.
So whatever you want to do, but just things like that. Help keep people engaged and interested and remembering the show after the show's done.
Yeah.
A big part about storing something in memory is relearning it and fortifying it. The way we remember things, just kind of on a biology level, is neurons fire on the same pathways again and again and again. The more it fires, the more repetitious it is, the more ingrained in your memory it is. If you can post things that cause someone's brain to refire the same neurons in their brain, remembering that show, you are just fortifying their memory of the awesome time they had at your show, making it more impactful and more sustainable in their own head. So the more they think about it, the more they remember it, the more they remember you, the more of a lifelong fan they will become.
That's great.
I didn't think I'd go into biology.
That was really
today,
deep.
Yeah. So there's literally a biological reason to post reminders of the show.
Yeah.
So.
Damn. That was really good. I have nothing sciencey to add to that.
And I think that kind of concludes what we've got down here today.
So now we can be done with the show, Sean?
Now we can be done with the show. The live show is over.
Next time.
What's the thing? This show is done.
Over. Yeah.
Now restart the process and go to the next one.
It's a cycle, baby.
It's a cycle. It's a very exciting cycle.
It is.
Yep. Always new venues, new challenges, new ways to perform, new ideas, new things you can incorporate. You know, we're creatives. We make music. We perform. We like trying interesting ways to be engaging and showcase the vision that's in our heads. So have fun. Play with this.
Yep.
Play with every single aspect of it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If you're not having fun, you're not taking it seriously enough.
It's true.
So make sure that as much of this experience can be as enjoyable to you as possible.
Yeah.
Because that will translate across everything you do and really help draw people in. So
yeah.
Now that's the live series, the mini series that we've done in this podcast is over.
Yay.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Once again, if you haven't seen any of the other episodes and we did our recap earlier on and any of them look interesting or useful to you, go back and listen to them. If anything that we've said, if anything we've said or any episodes that you've watched in the past could be helpful to a fellow musician that you know of, and you want to spread the knowledge like butter on toast to get more people engaged and crafting their own recipes, cooking up their own recipes, please share it. Share it around. Anything you want us to talk about in the future or any feedback or just say, hey guys, good job. You can contact us at music podcast.
Or just say bad job.
Or bad job.
Whatever.
Whatever. Or I guess you could you throw me off, man. You know, it's hilarious. You could message us at podcast@musicmakerscookbook.com. Follow us on any social media. We're on Instagram. We are on, we have all these video podcasts on YouTube, as well as the audio podcasts on any podcast platforming site out there. We're also on TikTok. So if you want to see shorts of the podcast and some other behind the scenes kind of stuff, check us out there.
Yeah.
In addition to that, please like and follow this podcast for more episodes in the future. Yeah. That's the whole laundry list that every podcast
at the very least for reaching out to us, just wish Sean a happy birthday.
Yeah.
Happy belated birthday at this point.
Yeah. If you leave a message saying that, then I would be very appreciative.
If you leave a message for Sean, he'll send you a selfie.
You know, why not?
Yep.
Yeah, why not?
Yep.
I'll just drop whatever I'm doing, take a picture right then and there. With that all being said, thank you for watching this episode. Get out there in your kitchen, cook up your own recipes, and let us know how they taste. And until then,
bon appetit.
There we go. I stole it from you last time. I was giving it back to you.
You did. Oh, that was you passing it on?
Yeah, I'm passing it on.
Thank you.